We're back again after a brief hiatus. And we wanted to cover a lot of the games in the middle of the week, but we couldn't, as usual. But it's Saturday. It's a good time to come back and just do a review of what has happened in the Euros. And obviously, we had Spain versus Germany and Portugal versus France, two very important games. So we'll mostly cover those in today's episode. Dom, what are you?
Hey Dev, yeah. Two games that kind of one lived up to the expectations, the other one was kind of a bore fest. But that's cup football for you. But I guess it just waiting for Spain and Germany. That was the main thing. That's the final before the final, as everyone keeps saying, and I think it really lived up to that expectation, to that hype. It was a game that was fought on a very high level tactically and individually, and I feel like that was what we were waiting for, right? That was we were waiting for that game. Basically since the beginning of the tournament, because we knew at one point we knew that Germany and Spain would face off, right? Unfortunately, they would face off before the final. But yeah, here we are. I think just looking at that game specifically, that was the highest quality game at the Euros so far. It was more like club football at a very decently high level than it was international cup football. So I think in that regard, we got what we wanted. We got our entertainment, so to speak. How did you see the game?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we had talked about the potential, what would happen in our last episode. So obviously, we were interested, and Spain won, and we're very happy because Spain again. So it's to Barcelona. We're a Barcelona channel, so yeah, I love the fact that we won. But I wanted to talk to you about. Let's start with one thing that all viewers obsess about, which is the XG. And Germany had potentially twice the XG that Spain had, literally. And yet, couldn't really get in the scoring sheet until the 89th minute when Wirtz scored the one goal, which was awesome. So was it just finishing, or did you see something else or feel that there was something else about the game from a tactical standpoint of view?
I think it's kind of game state dependent, right? So Spain scored the goal. They make this willing or very targeted decision to just drop off and soak up the pressure. And they were like, okay, we're going to defend until the 90th minute. Hopefully, weather the storm, and then we win with 1-0, right? That was De La Fuente's choice. And I think it was a bad one because what he basically had done was he took off all his outlets, all his attacking power, and he was like, okay, we're going to try and survive the German onslaught. If it works, it's fine. If it doesn't work, we're in trouble. Now, luckily for them, they had that late goal that in the end salvaged the win. But I think Spain won in spite of their coach, while Germany were inches away from victory because of their coach. I think that was kind of the difference. And don't get me wrong, Nagelsmann didn't do everything right. I think he had a couple of blips in the structure, in the personnel, in the tactics as well. However, I feel like De La Fuente's decisions actively sabotage the team, and that's why you see the rise in XG on Germany's side, because basically it was Spain's decision to just surrender the territory, surrender all the attacking protagonism to Germany, and just weather the storm. And when you have a team that's not exactly built for that, it's problematic because Spain didn't have any physical presence in the back line, didn't have any dual winners per se. They were very, very left out to dry by the structure itself and the personnel because of De La Fuente's decisions. So I feel like that's why you see the surge in XG. But then at the end of the day, Germany should do more with that, right? They should have maybe had more goals. They should have scored more. They should have
I
done
think
more. But yeah.
I think there was a little bit of finishing issues with Germany, with whether it's Fulkrug, whoever you talk, Havertz, Fulkrug, whatever. I think there were a bit of finishing issues. And to your point, you're right. I mean, if you see the XG chart, it basically creeps up after the 70th minute. So from 60th into 120, right? Because we're into extra time. That's when you can see Germany in the ascendancy, which is Spain just literally soaking in the pressure and saying, okay, we're going to manage our lead from Dan Olmo, right? Which was probably not the best of ideas to think about from that perspective. The other flashpoint was obviously Pedri and his injury and how it happened. Any thoughts?
just I don't know what to say. I don't want to stand here and bash Tony Cruz because we know what kind of player he is, but that especially because of the player he is, that all the pedigree, all the experience, all the praise that he gets for being the player that he is, I don't know what to say. That
It was a bit
move
of a
just
rash tackle, wasn't it?
yeah, it was just there's no escaping the fact that was a very vile, villainous type of action, and to smile afterwards, I think that doesn't really paint a nice picture of your last professional game, right? Because that was it, and maybe he was smiling because he thought, okay, now this might be bad for Pedri, but it's very good for us because I took out Pedri, and he's a big part of what they do. And there's this debate between should Pedri start or should Olmo start. They give you different things. It's basically a very, very different profile, and it's poetic justice as well because you take out Pedri and then Pedri's direct replacement ends up winning the game for Spain, like on just the goal and the assist. So it's poetic justice, and I feel like the universe kind of works that way. It's funny that way, right? And football is as well. So I feel like he got what he deserved. I mean, it's so cruel to say. I don't want to say that, but it's
Yes, it would be automatically taken because you're a Barca. It will be taken more so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here and paint a bad picture of Cruz. This doesn't put a dent on his overall career and what he's achieved as a player, a great player. But that move, it was just a bad move. I don't know if it was intentional, maybe it wasn't, but just to laugh afterwards and be so relaxed about it and not feel any kind of remorse. At least that's what it seemed to me when I was watching it live. Maybe he was feeling bad for Pedri, but but at that moment,
I mean, never know. I mean, on television, you can't really understand everything that's happening. So, benefit of doubt, but it still felt a little bit off from that perspective. That said, how long do you think Pedri's out? I mean, we are not medical professionals for sure, but it seems like the boy was just getting back into a string of games, and now he's back out again.
Yeah, and he was managed quite well, I want to say, because he wasn't playing full games. He was playing about 60-minute mark. He's off, right? So that part was all good, and I think that was the right move to do. Now the Euros for him are finished. I think that's clear.
Yeah.
Now the only question is, does this extend?
Are the questions? So Euros and Olympics are out.
Yeah, which can be good. Yeah. As Barca fans, we can feel happy about that. Now, the only problem is, does this injury extend into the league season afterwards, after the summer and all that?
Especially our league is it's quite interesting, the first 5 games for us.
Yeah. I've not seen the schedule, to be honest. I can't say.
I think it starts in Valencia, if I'm not mistaken. I was saying but beyond the point, I think what I felt bad was he was just about. He has been managed like a wad of cotton, obviously, and that's okay. But he was just getting a run of games consistently for a while, and then I think this will be a couple of months at least outside, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not no doctor, so I won't be able to say. But that did just take a little bit off just a feeling. It keeps a feeling in your head. The other one was Dani Carvajal's red card. Does that affect Spain? Because Carvajal has been a great in the defense for Spain as we go into the semifinals. Will that affect?
Obviously, yes. I think that's a big blow for Spain because Carvajal has been a big attacking point, but also defensively he's been quite good. And this was obviously intentional, right? He knew what he was doing. He knew if I do get a booking here, I'm off. All right, that's it. That's me gone for the next game as well if we advance. So I feel like it was a conscious decision, of course. Now, who comes in for Spain when Carvajal is out? That's the question. So who do we get? I don't know, right? All right, so good point. He had a yellow card from the previous match as well. So so he was out anyway. So it was a good decision because he's out anyway, so he doesn't really care. Now, who comes in and who's going to replace him? That's a big question, because who can replace the president on the right side? But to be fair to Spain and to Spain's opponents, Carvajal's area is often the target for them, right? So they know he goes forward. They know he sometimes will be the attacking presence inside the box even. So they know there will be space behind them that can be exploited, especially when you look at the France team that have Theo Hernandez and Mbappe on that side. That was a clear avenue for attack for France. And now that Carvajal is out, does De La Fuente go with a more defensive presence on the right side? Or does he still keep on drumming the same thing and okay, we're going to go full attacking the right side behind Lamine Yamal and then, just go full offense that way? So I don't know. I don't know what he does, but there's now a possibility of going with a more balanced but more defensive approach on the right side, which will be interesting to see. I don't even know who are the options for that right side. I don't remember. So Carvajal is obviously the first choice, but who is the second choice there?
Now we see the team sheets.
Yeah.
Who do we have? We
So
have
if because Lenormand is also out, right? He's also got the yellow card. So who goes and replaces Carvajal will be a big point there.
I don't think there's a point-to-point replacement for him.
No, there's not.
Ronaldo won't do that job. Ramiro won't do that job.
So
nope. I don't think there's a like-to-like replacement.
No, there won't be. So it will be interesting to see what De La Fuente does, and who the player that replaces him will be, because that's a huge point, right? It's a very, very big decision to make.
So that'll be an interesting one. Okay, let's take up a couple of comments that have come through. Olmo as a number 10 as a blessing in disguise with Pedri gone. Is that true? Will that really work with France?
Now that's the big question. So with Pedri, obviously, what you get. So if we go with what Nagelsmann had done, he had put Gundogan on Rodri, right? Gundogan was practically sticking to Rodri at all times, right? So that was a conscious decision by Nagelsmann to shut down Rodri. But what Spain have in Pedri is a player who can drop next to Rodri and take over those progression responsibilities, the recycling, the retention of the ball, and then move forward. Now, without Pedri in that team, and if Rodri gets man-marked again to that extent, that means that you don't have that player next to him who can take over that, unless you figure something different out. Because Olmo is a entirely different profile, right? He's someone who will attack the space, who will maybe go out wide to the left if needs be. He will attack the box. He won't link the different phases of play. He won't be that link between the defense and midfield and attack like Pedri is. He's someone who's much more oriented on scoring the goals, attacking the space, attacking the box, and exploiting those between the lines areas in the final third, right? So that's what he is. Now, without Pedri, you have Olmo, who gives you more attacking impetus, but then you lose on the progression and you lose on the connectivity between the lines or phases of play vertically, right? So I don't know if it's a blessing in disguise, because yes, technically, if you have more quality between the lines, that can free up the space out wide. So that's how Spain function normally. Rodri plays a pass into Pedri in the middle. So in the middle to Pedri, and that kind of attracts markers deeper, more centrally, which then opens up the wings for Nico and for Lamine, right? So if they don't have that between the lines, that quality, that gravity that Pedri has, it doesn't necessarily open as much space on the wings, which is where Spain's best weapons are, right? So that's the problem. Now, can Olmo give them more in terms of goals and assists than Pedri? Probably yes. But how do they access him? Because France is very, very happy sitting deep, defending for the large portions of the games, and then hitting you on the counter. That's what they're happy to do, right? So I don't know. I wouldn't say surprising in disguise. It was for this game against Germany. There's no escaping the fact. However, in a very, very deep block where you need quality between the lines, you need that connectivity, I don't know. I'm not so sure. But yes, Olmo, different profile, also very, very good player, obviously, but I'm not sure if I would take him over Pedri.
How did you feel about Musiala yesterday? Did he seem a little bit off?
I don't know. I was surprised to see him on the pitch for as long as he was, but a bit off. I don't know if it was off. It's just that I don't know if he was the right kind of player against this Spain, right? Sane was the more of that type that would hurt Spain more. However, Sane was used in an entirely different and suboptimal way from it. That was one of the flaws in Nagelsmann's system. To me, using Sane as a number 10 or this half space presence when you need him to be wide and you need to play to his dribbling skills and to his pace and legs, that was a weird decision by Nagelsmann to me. Musiala is similar, right? He's similar between the lines presence. Is not exactly someone who's going to hurt you. At least it doesn't seem to me that he's gonna hurt you over large distances in open play, right? I don't think that's the case for Musiala. So not necessarily the game to get the best out of him, right? Although Germany had more possession in the beginning, they had more settled attacking play than Spain, but I don't think this was the game to get the best out of Musiala. I don't think so, at least.
But that's weird, no? Because the boy can obviously dribble. The boy can has the physicality now, at least. The boy can find spaces. Is it something with Nagelsmann and the strategy he employs, or something else?
I don't think it was necessarily strategy. I mean, Germany are a team that obviously excels between the lines, right? So the whole setup is made in such a way that it maximizes between the lines presence of Musiala, of Gundogan, of Wirtz, and potentially Havertz when he drops deeper, right? So that's the whole gist of this Germany team. That's all they do. I mean, not all they do, but that's what their main weapons are, right? So if you don't have that, if you don't play to that, then yes, obviously you don't get the most out of those players. Now, against Spain, I don't know. The plan wasn't that much in those areas. It doesn't seem to me that way. It was slightly different than usual because you have Emre Can or Chan, not sure how to pronounce that, who was in for Andre. Yeah, Chan. Yeah, was in for Andre, and that gives you different flavors in defense, but also in attack. Germany were more in a 3-2 settle phase, which get a more defensive solidity because you have a better rest defense, right? But then you attack with 5 players up front, and then that transitions into a 3-1-6 once they have settled in the final third, right? And Germany didn't really see that much between the lines connectivity that I usually see from them. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the case. I wasn't that laser focused on that. So maybe it's not that. But it seemed to me that it was just a different game plan or a different flavor to the game than usually we see from Germany.
And Musiala. Well, I felt he was completely off yesterday compared to how he generally plays. Great. All right, so let's take one more question. How does Flick internalize the match yesterday? Happy that Germany lost. Impressed with Kimmich. Celebrating for the Le Mans-Nico partnership. All right. What does Flick say? Flick feels bad, I'm guessing. German.
Yeah.
Bad that his country has lost. So shouldn't be happy, but impressed with Kimmich. I don't know. Was there anything?
Yeah. I think Kimmich did his job well, both defensively and offensively. I think he did rather well because when you look at how Germany pressed, Kimmich was a big part of that, right? He was a big part.
I like that, but Dom, is this Kimmich what we need at Barca? Like, if he does the same thing, will that help this team that we have? That's the question I had.
Right. Not in midfield, right? If Kimmich plays right back, I think
was coming to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if Kimmich does come to Barca, he has to be the right back, and then Koundé is the right back at the moment.
He's a great right back these days.
Yeah, he's very, very good. Yeah, the current Koundé, I don't know if he would get benched by Kimmich. Maybe he would be because of Flick. Flick loves Kimmich, obviously. I think he still does. So I think that would kind of give him an edge over Koundé potentially. But then Koundé gives you similar things while also being a much more physical and much more defensive type of player. I mean, not defensive in profile, but he is his just the way that he is as a player, he offers you more defensive solidity than Kimmich, definitely. So I feel like I wouldn't necessarily focus in that area. I wouldn't bring in Kimmich just to bench Koundé because there's no need as of right now to bench Koundé. And I don't even know if he would, but I mean, Kimmich as a right back is definitely very, very top, right? Maybe in the top 2 or 3 right backs in the world, I think, at the moment. And he did his job quite well, both in attack and defense for Germany, because he was pressing on the right side when he needed to be, and he was also quite good at reading what he needed to do. So if he needed to drop deeper or if he needed to push forward, he knew when to do what. And that comes from coaching, yes, but also from his own intelligence and how he understands the play. So he's quite good at that as well. But then if you have him as this distribution type player from outside the block, that also works quite well, especially if you have targets to aim for, which it would be Sane, it would be Havertz, and in Barcelona it would be Nico and Lamine and whoever is number 9. I don't know. We don't know who that number 9 is going to be, but theoretically you have a profile that would fit and that would bring you value in that sense. But at the same time, I'm not sure if that's the necessary thing to do at the moment, because we do have Koundé, and then you do have obviously Cancelo if needs be, as the potential.
Also, we're forgetting that FDJ is not leaving anytime soon. At least this year he's not leaving. Maybe he'll leave next year on the free. So if he stays, then whatever role Kimmich's in, it will have to be adjacent to what De Jong does, and that, I don't know. That problem does not exist in Germany for Kimmich to do his thing for the German side.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They don't have a De Jong, and Kimmich and De Jong as double pivot wouldn't. It's a lot of quality in that midfield, but it's not the right kind of balance that we keep talking about, because we keep saying, okay, Barca don't have a problem with quality. They have quality players. It's just the balance of profiles are missing. Yeah, exactly. The right kind of players are missing. So if you have Kimmich and De Jong, I don't think you get as much value as you should get, because you get a lot of one thing, but then nothing of the other thing that you need. So it's very, very conflicting to put them two together in a midfield pairing. But then if De Jong doesn't leave, do Barca even have the means to go for anyone, right? So that's the kind of the problem. Is there a world where Frenkie de Jong stays, but Barca still get Nico Williams, for example? I don't know. It's a very difficult question, because Barca don't have the finances without selling, and we keep hearing about yeah, exactly. We keep hearing about Barca returning to the 1-1.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 1 month. So it's never gonna happen.
Every 2 weeks. So we don't know. So someone will have to leave eventually. And is there someone who can leave? Now, if Koundé leaves, because there's a market for Koundé, should he leave? Probably not. But he can leave because he's very marketable, and this Euros will only bump up his price. Now, do Barca get tempted by that? Possibly. And in that world, if you sell Koundé and then Flick comes in and he's like, okay, I need a right back, Kimmich, let's go, lad, we'll bring you in. So that's also what it costs.
I mean, it's not that Kimmich's going to be cheap, or cheaper than Koundé.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Kimmich has a lot of value. There's a lot of value in Kimmich as the right back. And if you don't have Koundé, then yes, Kimmich would be a good kind of replacement. Not like for like, obviously, but he does bring you a lot in that, both attacking and defensively. He's not the best one-on-one defender, but he understands collective defending well. So that's a big point. So if Flick can coach good collective defense, Kimmich will slot in and be a good piece of that defensive unit, right? And he will be a good worker if he needs to be, and if he's coached to be. Now, if Koundé stays, I don't see a need for Kimmich. I mean, it's difficult. I wouldn't really make that my priority, is what I'm saying.
No, I understand. And I think I agree with you. The other one was about, I found that funny. Jesus Navas marking Mbappe in the next match. Well, Navas isn't really bad. When he does mark, he does a pretty good job out of it, even if he's 38 years old. That's number one. And number two, is Mbappe really playing that well in this tournament? That's the question.
He obviously isn't. And of course, we don't know to what extent that injury is causing problems for him. He's physically not at his very, very best, right? At his peak, right? So, and Mbappe, who loses a lot of physicality, a lot of aggressiveness in his duels and his attacking of the ball, he loses a lot of his profile. What makes Mbappe. So I think that's one reason for it. And of course, he suffered that hit again to the nose. I thought he was going to get subbed off, but he didn't get subbed off. And I think from that point onwards, his participation, his involvement, his value dropped massively, and because he wasn't really fully in it, right? He wasn't really going for everything 100%, and that matters at this stage of the tournament. So I feel like that's a big reason for that. Now, is he still going to be a threat? Of course he is. I think he's still a threat. He is still, especially with the way France play, because they will They will aim to be the counter-attacking side against Spain. They will aim to drop deep and be very comfortable defending deep and then bursting forward. That's all they will do in the game. I don't expect much protagonism from France against Spain or any at all. So
it'll be almost a Real Madrid versus Barca game if you look into it.
yeah, I think so.
You look at the number of players that they have. The majority of the players that you see, you have like Chouameni. You know, I mean, a lot of their players are play for Real Madrid, and a lot of the Spanish players play for Barcelona. So it'll be fun game to watch. But that's it. We said that if Spain do win against Germany, it does make them one of the favorites to win it all the way.
Yeah.
Do you hold that, Dom?
Yeah, I think Spain are by far the best team in the tournament, the best remaining team at the Euros. I think there's no question about that. However, does that mean they're guaranteed a win? No, it does not guarantee them a win because France are well equipped to go all the way. France have not scored a goal from open play yet. If we go back, let me just find it. So France versus Austria, it was an own goal, 1-0 victory to France. France, Netherlands, 0-0. France, Poland, 1-1, penalty goal from Mbappe. France, Belgium, 1-0, own goal. And then France, Portugal, penalties. So they've not 0 goals scored from open play. That is if they end up winning the tournament.
It's an insane stat from a team that is so stacked like France.
Exactly, but I mean, they're really good at what they do, right? So they're comfortable defending because they have all of these elite. They have Saliba, they have Chouameni, they have Kanté. They have a team that's full of hard workers and a team that is physically just incredible. And that
insane. That's very strong. Yeah.
You cannot bully them in any way. And now Spain are the exact opposite. They have a lot of technical quality, but they don't have duelers. They don't have anyone who excels in that area or in the air, especially. So France have all the tools to win against Spain, to have 0 of the ball, but still win against Spain. So if there's one team that can kind of beat Spain, despite the overwhelming quality that Spain have, it's France, right? I feel like stylistically,
the sheer physicality is insane.
Yeah. So stylistically, France have, I don't want to say the upper hand. It all depends on how well Spain manage their protagonism, right? If Spain have all the ball as expected, which I think they will have most of the ball, if they can make the most out of that, yeah, sure, fine, they can win. But if they are very lackluster in front of goal, if they don't take their chances, don't really excel, the Moratas of the world have to be on form that game, because France will have 2-3 counterattacks and they will rip Spain open, and they can win the game off of that. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And we haven't been very, very clinical in our like Spain hasn't been very clinical in their finishing. They won for sure, but except for a couple of games, the finishing has been concerning one, and it's not that they've created tons and tons of chances as well. From if you just look at data. So yeah, it's not going to be that easy, and yes, it's a tough opponent. But if Spain do go on to win, they will have totally achieved it, because they would have gone through all the tough teams, and that's how it should be.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very, very tough run, but they are the best team in the Euros, like structurally and tactically, and well, the thing is, France have these exceptional individuals, but they also have the setup that maximizes the cup football style of play, right? So they are the ultimate what do you call it, the raid boss kind of thing for cup tournaments. So they are the team to beat in the cup tournaments, and they, if they beat Spain on paper, that's it for them, right? That they don't really have. Although to be honest, I think France might struggle more against England and Portugal than against Spain, because England are similar to France, right? They have been defensively maybe more so. Yeah, exactly. So it will be like the Portugal-France game, very boring, with teams don't create much, they don't really attack much. It's all kind of but both teams could score a goal out of nowhere from a counterattack, and that will be a 1-0 victory, and that's it, right? Or a penalty shootout victory, right?
One more question before we move to the France-Portugal game. Should he start José Lu, Ferran, or Oyarzabal to me, it's Joselu because of just his finishing.
Mhm.
Um, and with Ferran or Isabel coming later on. But no, I'm
Mhm.
interested to your point of view.
We'll see. Having a false nine has its benefits because we've seen that the false nine kind of does create a lot of decisional dilemmas, right? That was one thing that kind of ripped Germany apart. The structure was fell flat because of that. Because you had Morata dropping D, you had Nico Williams inverting into that space, and it constantly drew markers, right? It created space for the outlets to attack, and it definitely has its perks. Now, if you play Joselo, you get more physicality, you get more aerial presence, you get more inside the box lethality,
Great.
as you mentioned it. So, do you combat France's physicality with physicality? So fight fire with fire, or do you go the opposite way and you play a false nine to kind of draw the markers and all that stuff? But I do think Morata will still play because at the end it was confirmed that
I
he's going to
think
get a yellow
Morata
card.
will play. I think,
Yeah,
well, I think De La Fuente likes him. So I generally think that he's going to play.
yeah. So he's probably going to play, and if he's used the same way as with Germany, there is merit to that. I think there is still merit with that because if you can't be physical enough against this France, because and you probably cannot because Spain don't have that in their locker, in the profiles, or in their squad depth. So you have to play to your own strengths. So I feel like having something similar to the Germany setup, that could be what Spain will go for. I think.
All right, let's move to the next game, the France versus Portugal game. Obviously, we have been merging and mixing, so a little bit messy all over the place. But anyway, a 0-0 glorious draw, and then a shootout in which our Joao Felix missed,
Of course, yeah.
and then France won. So that, as I simplified the summary massively, but overall, if you look into the game. And I'll start with the XG as well once again. Massive XG difference between Portugal and France, 2.47 to France's 0.84, right? That was basically what Scout came up with. So much of a difference, so many chances created. And I think in bits and pieces, both Felix and Cancelo actually played well during the game itself. What happened? What went wrong? Was it Cristiano Ronaldo? Was it something else?
I do think that Cristiano Ronaldo is a big problem for Portugal. I mean, is it even controversial thing to say at this point? I don't think it is. He's not really been offering anything. I mean, is it his ego? Yes, it is his ego to a certain extent because he's not accepting that he is not the player that he used to be. That absolutely stands. And I do feel like this Portugal team has enough talent to play much better football than they are currently playing. So they should be a much more threatening team, but they are simply not because.
I mean, if you look at Pepe on the other side, he played a blinder.
Right,
And he's been
exactly.
playing blinder after blinder in the tournament. So, and he's about 40 years old. So it's not so much about age. So how do we rationalize this?
We rationalize by saying that Ronaldo is no longer playing to his strengths, right? So it's his. I think it's his decision to stay on the pitch and to be on the pitch at all times. I would still say that he makes that decision just because of the reputation and the pedigree that he has. But he should be a much different type of player than he should be in the box and that's it. Put him in the box, aim for him, and he will still score your goals. But if he's far away from the box and doing all these link up things and he's trying to be the creative hub of the team and the playmaker and the runner and all that stuff, you're not getting anything from him. You just it's just not optimal. It's not optimal, and it shows. It creates this disbalance in the team. And especially when you look at the way that he takes everything at him, right? The set pieces and decisions, everything is centered around him when it shouldn't be, because he's no longer the player that warrants that kind of responsibility, that kind of what do I even call it? I don't know. That kind of I don't know. It just everything goes towards him. All avenues lead to Ronaldo when they shouldn't, right? So that's one big issue in this Portugal team.
What do you feel about? Let's start with the Barca players, Cancelo and Felix.
Well, Felix obviously didn't play much at all, right? He was just a cameo player, and when he did come on, he did have a good chance. That was a header that kind of went wide, and then the penalty miss, obvious in the shootout. I think Felix is very much a player that gets affected mentally a lot, and if he's not there mentally, he just disconnects, and he's not even the half of the player that he can be, right? So it's a lot of mental struggles that he faces, and that kind of minimizes his effectiveness on the pitch. And Cancelo is Cancelo. You know what he is. He's someone who defensively won't really be there, but he can offensively still do his job. But I don't think that he really had the best of games either. He just he's very one dimensional? Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't really know. But if you play to his strengths and he does what he does in possession and in tag, fine, you get something out of him. But if he doesn't click, if he doesn't get that platform, then he can be a liability as well.
Yeah, I think overall, I think Bruno, Vitinha, Nuno Fernandes, I think they played a pretty good game if you look into how the proceedings went ahead. But I think overall, they just lacked a little bit of connectivity, I would say, or just that final incisive pass or that finishing to really exploit what they created. So that obviously affected them. From a France perspective, however, what did you feel were the problems for them just drawing up a big blank?
They're just too passive. For me, France are just a team that is too comfortable in their passive nature, right? They're very, very happy to drop deep and just hit in the counter. But that means, as we keep saying, you don't have to press high to be an elite defensive team. That's not a necessity. However, if you have any aspirations to be a team that's the protagonist that controls the game, you have to have some sort of efficiency in high pressing, right? And France they are willingly dropping deep and they're relinquishing all the control to the other team. And for me, a team with such talent, with such attacking force and technical quality, a nice blend of physicality and technicality, it doesn't make sense for me, right? They have elite defenders, of course, yeah, sure, and they're very comfortable doing what they're doing, but at the same time, they're allowing their opposition too much space, too much time, too much protagonism, and they're just banking on them riding that storm and surviving that storm. And this Portugal side did not have the lethality to maybe punish that. They had a Leao, who's a very disruptive force, a force that's very self-sufficient on the left side, but he's not a finisher or not a reliable finisher at this stage of his career. You have Ronaldo, who's meant to be exactly that, but he also wasn't really at his best. He missed a clear-cut chance in the box as well. So they didn't have the tools to punish this passive nature of France, right? And do Spain have that? I'm not sure. So maybe this is where the Olmo versus Pedri thing comes in. Maybe with Olmo, you do get more of that. And maybe now Spain will have a tool that is more in line with what they need to hurt this passive France structure, right? So maybe that's the thing. So I think that's the main issue. They're just being too passive and being too happy with having no control and no protagonism in their play.
But obviously, like the midfield of Conte and Chouameni is actually pretty good, solid. Lots of recoveries, lots of duels to be won, and so on. If you pick that against let's say they'll take on Pedri's out, so it'll mostly be Fabian Ruiz, and who else is in our midfield? For
Rodri, Ruiz, and yeah.
How do you feel that stacks up for them, for France?
For France, I think it stacks up okay because Spain won't have as much control. Rodri, Ruiz, and Olmo are kind of both very aggressive, and Rodri is very aggressive as well, because if you're looking at one player who's going to be at the end of those cutbacks, it can be Rodri often, right? So it can be Rodri, yeah. With his long shots out of the box, I think that's what he can and will do. Now, if France can use their physicality, use their defensive prowess to kind of shut down that midfield, which I think they can do, then that nullifies a lot of Spain's lethality, right? It nullifies a lot because they have creativity on the flanks and they have this width and depth on the flanks, but they don't have goals on the flanks, not as much as they have in the middle and in that midfield predominantly. So if they can shut down the goals and the shots from midfield, which they can do, they've solved a big issue, a big tool for Spain. So I feel like that's a big point to consider. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. Like four of the top wingers, right? I think you have Dembele, you have Nico Williams, then you have Lamine Yamal, and then you have Mbappe. Nico Williams and Dembele, who wins in a foot race? It's just a basic question.
Probably them. I think Dembele still wins. I think he's still
Dembele
the
still
fastest
wins,
player.
right?
I think so. Yeah.
He's fast. Yeah, you're right. But again, not a very good showing from Dembele in this game, per se, from what he's supposed to do, or did you feel otherwise?
I felt like he was actually quite good. He came on and he did what he was meant to do. The only thing is, Dembele does what he does. He does everything right, and then he sends a shot in the orbit. That's what he does. That was the only thing missing, and crucially, it could have cost them game because if you don't take your chances, you're bound to get punished. But now Portugal didn't have anything to punish them, right? So. So those misses, and he had a couple of misses, did not come back to bite them in the end. However, I think Dembele did what he had to do. Right, he was very electric. He was making those isolations count. He was dribbling. He was creating space, and he was making the most out of his one-on-ones and his takeoffs. I feel like he was there to do exactly that. He did it. So I feel like from that perspective, he was quite good, and he did put away the penalty in the end as well. So I think
yes, he did.
He did his job. Now, could he have scored from open play? Yes, he could have. But he's Dembele, so we can expect him to sky those attempts anyway.
Correct. All right. So now Portugal's obviously out. Is this? But they have a really good pipeline of players. So, but I still felt that even with all of that, it was Pepe who was the heart of the team. Throughout.
Absolutely.
It depends whether he's creating an attack, whether it's playing out from the back, whether it's orchestrating everything. It was still Pepe at this age. It's weird. Like after seeing him, I thought he can actually still play club football pretty well in some top clubs and do absolutely awesome. There were also talks about Conte and Barca and so on and so forth. Just rumors, I guess. What do you make of Conte in this entire tournament?
Oh, very, very good. I was surprised at his level because you wouldn't expect him to be at that physical level and just being so well prepared for this kind of strain and this kind of level of play, right? I wouldn't expect him to be there, especially since he's also a player coming from a non-elite league anymore, right? So I think that's kind of the big talking point here. But he's done really, really well. I think he's largely the same player that we used to see in the Premier League, which says a lot. I mean, you wouldn't expect that, and in that sense, I think he's done really well, and he does his job. He's deep, he's high, depending on what you need. He runs a lot, he covers a lot of ground, and he disrupts a lot. And now, even in this game, he was even at the end of some shots, but you can see that that's not his forte. Right? You can see that he's not meant to be there and not meant to be scoring those goals. Not next to all the attacking potential that they have. So, but he did his job really well. So I think from that perspective, he's really surprised me in a positive sense.
One of these teams are obviously going to meet England because England, even without playing well, they're going all the way to the finals based on the other half of the floor, right? I think they can just keep playing like this; they'll still reach the finals. And if they do, which team do you think has a better chance, or is it just a coin toss?
I would still say that Spain and France have a higher chance than England. Now, France and England, that will be a painful game. That will be a painful game to watch. And I think, I don't know, I think that France would struggle, and France and England both would struggle more against each other than against Spain because they're statistically more well-equipped to face Spain than they are to face each other. As weird as that sounds, but I would still like to see Spain go all the way because they are tactically, structurally, they are the best team in the tournament.
All right. Anything else, Dom? Like obviously we covered these two games, and I'm not really in any great detail, but yeah, just
Mhm.
an overview. People watched it already, and there are a couple of more coming up. How did you feel overall? Like I think it went pretty much to expectations. The whole round of 16 quarterfinals. I don't think they had any. I don't think there were many upsets in that sense. I
Mm.
think Austria was the only one. I thought Austria would go a little
Yeah,
bit further.
yeah,
They didn't, so that I felt a little bad. But apart from that, I think everything else was pretty much on the ball.
yeah.
And we obviously there are a couple of more games coming up, and we'll be covering that as well. And then the semifinals and the finals. But looks like as of now, it should be a three-horse, at least three horses that we think. It'll be Spain, Germany, and England, and there's one more, and then we can define on what who's going to win or what not. But looks like Spain has a proper chance of making it if they
Mm.
can, yeah, go against the passive as you defined them, the French team.
Yeah. It's basically what you said. So I did expect Spain to win narrowly. I said 60-40 to Spain, which might have been a bit generous. I think it was more like 55-45 or something, or maybe even 50-50 all the way through. But yeah, that was kind of what I was going for, the Spain victory, and then obviously the France victory, despite their passivity, as you mentioned. Now on the other side of the bracket, yes, I still expect England to go through. I think Switzerland are the better team, or the team that's playing better football, but I think they will not progress. It won't be enough. Now Netherlands and Turkey is interesting because I
Yeah,
think it's very interesting. I will still say Netherlands, but Turkey
Turkey's
have
playing good. I won't be
yeah
surprised if Turkey actually pull this off. I
yeah
won't be
yeah.
surprised.
I think so. I agree. Absolutely agree. I would be very happy if Netherlands can progress. For me personally, Spain are the favorites, and I would like for them to win. But if it's not Spain, I would like to see Netherlands then win and all. Just something, something of a personal pick there. But do they have the highest chance? No, not even close. I think England and France and Spain have higher chances to win it all than Netherlands and Turkey for that matter. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Does Yeah, Turkey does play with a lot of heart, and there's a lot of Turkish support in Germany. You're absolutely right. And does Spain performance influence Flick's team setup anyway?
Mhm.
I guess not. Spain does not really play like Barca, and Barca is a totally different ballgame altogether. So when he comes in, but yeah, surely he'll be able to understand who plays well with the combinations and so on. So hopefully he'll get that. But
Mhm.
um, but we don't even know what our team is going to be
Mhm.
until the Euro ends. Who goes? Who comes in? Do we have any money? Do we have like $5 or 50 or what have you? And
Mhm.
if UEFA has to pay Barca $20,000 per day, hey, that's good, man.
No,
They just
no
keep him
kidding.
out. That's the end of our debt. So that's that's what it's going to be. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We will obviously again once the next two games are up, we'll possibly do a review of those two, or just talk about it, and
Mhm.
then we'll see you all in the semifinals and the finals. And with that, Visca El Barça.